in this windy old weather, stormy old weather. When the wind blows, we'll all go together. Oh, up jumped the humpback, singing his song, jumping and laughing and splashing along. And then come a sperm whale, and guess what he did? He called to the top with a 50-foot squid in this windy old weather, stormy old weather. When the wind blows, we'll all go together.
The sperm whale is the largest toothed animal on Earth. Male sperm whales grow up to 18 meters or 60 feet in length, and they can weigh over 50 tons. Sperm whales are air-breathing mammals, inhabiting deep waters in all oceans. Different in appearance from other species of whales, the sperm whale has a massive barrel of a head, nearly 1/3 the length of its body, with a long, narrow lower jaw containing a double row of teeth the size of cucumbers, used to catch and hold deep-sea squid upon which it feeds. Like all other cetaceans, the sperm whale has a flat, triangular tail, which gives it tremendous powers of locomotion. The muscles which move it up and down when swimming are among the strongest on Earth. Female sperm whales are much smaller than males, only growing to about 40 feet in length. The legendary Moby Dick of Herman Melville's classic novel, here portrayed in a painting by Richard Ellis, was a rare white sperm whale. The sperm whale can hold its breath and remain underwater for more than an hour. It is capable of diving more than a mile down into the ocean depths, searching for squid and cuttlefish. It uses a kind of sonar or echolocation to find in the pitch blackness of the deep the giant squid which appear to be its favorite prey. This is the unforgettable image of Moby Dick reaching out of the sea to the heavens above in Rockwell Kent's magnificent illustration for Melville's novel. The sperm whale has the largest brain of any creature that has ever lived on Earth. This is a glass model of the brain of a bottlenose dolphin, and this is a model of a sperm whale's brain. The dolphin's brain is comparable in size to the human brain and weighs about 4 or 5 pounds. The sperm whale brain weighs up to 20 pounds, 4 or 5 times the weight of our human brain. And scientists have found that the sperm whale's brain is at least as complex and convoluted as the human brain. Inside the tremendous head of the sperm whale is a giant muscular tank, almost the size of an oil truck. Found inside this great internal case is a unique kind of oil known as spermaceti. Spermaceti oil was greatly favored in the 18th and 19th centuries for use in lamps and candles because it burned without smoke. It was this special quality which made sperm whales the most prized prey of Yankee whalers. For over 150 years, great whaling ships from ports like Mystic and New London, Nantucket and New Bedford sailed around the world in pursuit of sperm whale oil. These ships of sail pitted men in small wooden dories using handheld harpoons against the mighty Leviathan. Whaling in those days was a dangerous and often desperate occupation, involving voyages often lasting 2 or 3 years or more. But the oil brought back from successful trips made millionaires of the ship owners and contributed significantly to the economic growth of states like Connecticut. In fact, in the 1840s, Connecticut was second only to Massachusetts as a whale hunting state, and New London was second only to New Bedford as a whaling port. In the 20th century, however, commercial whaling became an entirely different kind of operation. Even the blue whale, the largest animal ever to have lived on our planet, became victim of the big steam-powered ships with explosive grenade harpoons fired from small cannons mounted on the decks of catcher boats. All species of great whales were slaughtered mercilessly by the hundreds of thousands, bringing right, gray, blue, fin, and humpback whales to the very brink of extinction. The sperm whale, too, remained a prime target, and in the year 1974 alone, by international agreement, 23,000 of the world's largest brained creatures were brutally killed by modern whale hunters. Dismayed by this remorseless slaughter, a small group of Connecticut citizens in 1974 organized the Connecticut Cetacean Society to see what we could possibly do to help stem the tide and save the whale. When famed underwater explorer Jacques Cousteau visited the Mystic Seaport to dedicate a new edition of Moby Dick, we talked with him about raising public awareness. State Senator Larry DeNardis suggested naming the sperm whale as Connecticut's official state animal. So we launched a year-long campaign, and finally, with the help of many school children from throughout the state, we got the legislature to pass a bill making the whale our state animal. In May 1975, then Governor Ella Grasso signed the bill into law, and the sperm whale thus became a special symbol of conservation and a springboard for education, not only in Connecticut, but literally around the world. Many people still didn't know what a sperm whale looked like, however. So the Science Museum of Connecticut in West Hartford gave us permission to undertake an incredible project, the building of a life-size 60-foot ferrocement model of a sperm whale on the grounds outside their building on Trout Brook Drive. It took us more than a year and 5,000 hours of volunteer labor to complete this monumental construction task. But finally, in 1976, it was unveiled, and ever since then, school children from all over Connecticut and visitors from around the world have come to the museum to see with their own eyes the tremendous size and awesome shape of the great sperm whale as it actually exists in the oceans of the world. Once this was accomplished, we began marshaling our resources to seek international action to bring an end to whale killing on a global basis. Along with many other groups, we sent representatives armed with hundreds of petitions containing thousands of signatures to the annual meetings in England of the International Whaling Commission. It took years of effort and many rallies like this one in Trafalgar Square in London to get this international regulatory body to agree to limit and finally stop all commercial whaling. I was a member of the United States delegation to the 1979 meeting of the International Whaling Commission when the first major breakthrough occurred. The IWC that year banned factory ship sperm whaling and established an Indian Ocean sanctuary. 2 years later, in 1981, an historic victory was won, and the IWC voted to bring a global end to all sperm whaling. This at last made it possible to begin a benign research program to study sperm whales peacefully without harming them. A new breed of whale scientists emerged, using small sailing ships like this in the Indian Ocean to observe and follow whales alive. Pioneer researchers like Hal Whitehead spent months in the waters off Sri Lanka, photographing sperm whales for the first time without harpoons, watching them leap out of the water in a dramatic breach, or float calmly on the surface like giant logs. And for the first time they took underwater photographs of living sperm whales like this mother and calf. We were pleased to see that in reality they did indeed look much like the concrete model we had made in West Hartford, Connecticut.
Hi, what you have just seen is prologue to what for me was one of life's greatest adventures. I'm Robbins Barstow, and I live in Wethersfield, Connecticut. And all my life, I've been fascinated by whales in general and the sperm whale in particular. For 18 years, I served as the volunteer executive director for what was the Connecticut Cetacean Society and is now the Cetacean Society International. I helped to make the sperm whale be Connecticut's state animal, and I fought for its global protection. I have brought visitors here from literally around the world, from Africa, from India, from China, from Japan, Australia, Argentina, to see this great life-size model of a sperm whale. It's the only one of its kind any place in the world. But in all of my 72 years, I personally had never actually seen a live sperm whale out in the ocean. They live too far out. I'd filmed and seen 18 other different species of whales and dolphins, but I couldn't go to the Azores or the Galapagos or Sri Lanka where sperm whales have been studied. And it remained for me a distant dream to see a live sperm whale until the summer of 1991. I learned about a special 3-day and 3-night trip that was being sponsored by Seafarers Expeditions out of Gloucester, Massachusetts, on the weekend of July 4th, to go 100 miles out into the Atlantic Ocean to the edge of the continental shelf where sperm whales had been sighted on previous trips. So, with the blessing of my understanding wife, I seized the day and embarked upon this special voyage, seeking at long last to fulfill my lifelong quest for the great sperm whale.
The point of departure for this special whale watch trip was Gloucester, Massachusetts, home of the Yankee fleet. On the afternoon of Thursday, July 4th, the voyagers assembled at the Cape Ann Marina, where the seagulls gave us a raucous welcome. Participants in this 3-day and 3-night excursion came from as far away as California. We gathered with our luggage in an open courtyard near the dock, where there was an explanatory display about sperm whales. A number of the passengers were old friends who had been on previous whale watching trips sponsored by Seafarers Expeditions, operated by trip leader Scott Marion from Bangor, Maine. The chief naturalist aboard was also named Scott Krause from the New England Aquarium in Boston. It was exciting to think about going 100 miles out into the Atlantic Ocean and spending 2 days and nights there looking for deep-sea whales. I was interested in a map showing the route that we would be taking, heading southeast from Gloucester and Cape Ann, going past Cape Cod and down through the Great South Channel to the edge of the continental shelf, as shown here by Tyler Seavey.
Canyon, Walters Canyon, Oceanographer, Gilbert Canyon, Mouth of Lydonia Canyon. Great South Channel, Stellwagen, back to Gloucester.
After supper at the Marina restaurant, we assembled for a brief orientation session on shore before boarding the boat about 8 p.m. The ship we were going out on was the Yankee Freedom, a fully equipped 100-foot vessel designed for this kind of ocean expedition. There were a total of 34 persons aboard, including the 2 trip leaders and a crew of 6. There was a large, roomy lounge and dining cabin on the main deck, though we did find our sleeping quarters below decks quite cramped and crowded. Everyone was in good spirits, however, when the captain called us together on the upper deck for a briefing at dusk before getting underway.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome aboard the Yankee Freedom. My name's Jeff. There's a fire hose on either side of the main cabin, and the fire extinguishers are at various points around the boat. Very important, there's 2 fire extinguishers in each bunk room. And you should take few minutes to locate all the safety equipment. Even if you're not going to use it yourself, you may be asked to get something. If you know.
As the boat left the dock in the dark, with night lights glowing around us, and we headed out of the harbor into the ocean that first evening, we felt a sense of peace and of growing anticipation. In the cabin before bedtime, the naturalists showed us pictures of the various kinds of cetaceans we were likely to see on this trip. This painting by Richard Ellis shows in proportionate size 17 species of whales and dolphins found in the waters off the North American continent. On our 3-day trip, we were fortunate enough to see more than half of these marvelous mammals, a total of 9 different species. We did not see the giant blue whale or the knobby-headed right whale or any of the black and white killer whales, but the species that we did see included the familiar bottlenose dolphin, the kind most often captured and displayed in aquariums, found all along the Atlantic coast, and the colorful common dolphin, which usually travels in large groups and loves swimming in bow waves. The most frequently seen large whale in the North Atlantic is the humpback whale, with its long white flippers and gracefully tipped tail. This is a Krause dolphin, somewhat larger and whiter in color, and with a tall dorsal fin. We also caught a glimpse of a pod of small, fast-swimming Atlantic white-sided dolphins early one morning. The largest whale commonly seen off Cape Cod is the fin whale, which has a white underside and can grow to be 80 feet, second only to the blue whale. Pilot whales, almost entirely black, grow to 18 feet and have rounded dorsal fins, traveling often in large groups. And finally we come to the great sperm whale, which generally is found only far out in deep waters beyond the continental shelf. There was one other species of whale which the naturalists told us about, too rare to be included in this painting. It was the North Atlantic Beaked Whale, shown here in a drawing by Connecticut artist Donald Sinetti. Sighting and filming this almost never seen whale turned out to be the most exciting and dramatic part of our entire trip. Friday morning found us still heading full speed out into the ocean toward George's Bank. The weather was sunny but windy, and the sea was quite rough. After our cramped night's sleep in the narrow bunks below, most of us were eager to be out on deck, trying to get used to the roll of the waves. We spent most of the morning lining the rails, looking for whales. Our boat was all alone on a vast expanse of sea. Finally, just as we were getting ready to eat some lunch, we felt the boat veer off its course and reduce speed. We heard the cry, "Dolphins ahead!" So we excitedly got our cameras and rushed out to record this first encounter. It turned out that what was approaching us was a good-sized pod of Krause dolphins, surfacing and crisscrossing in front of and on both sides of the boat. These dolphins, also known as grampus, could be identified by their size and partly white markings, and by their tall, pointed dorsal fins. They grow up to 13 feet in length. Once in a while, one of them would leap partly out of the water and land on its side. I myself had never before seen Krause dolphins in the wild, so observing them was a welcome new experience. They are familiar sights for deep-sea fishermen. When they eventually swam off, the boat resumed its outward course. The water was still only a few hundred feet deep, as we had not yet reached the edge of the undersea continental shelf. Shortly after lunch, there was another call of "Dolphins ahead," this time it was a small pod of common dolphins dashing over to our boat to swim around this large visitor on the surface of their water world and to play in the bow waves in front of the boat. Common dolphins, also known by their scientific name Delphinus delphis, are smaller and more symmetrically colored, with a yellow, white, and gray pattern along their sides that gives the appearance of a saddle, so they are sometimes called saddleback dolphins. They are very fast and graceful, and watching them swim back and forth just beneath the surface is one of nature's most aesthetically pleasing experiences. Here now is a mother common dolphin with her small calf beside her, joined by a second calf. What a beautiful sight! After about half an hour of what I like to refer to as mutual enrichment, we resumed our planned course, and the dolphins swam off on another pursuit. About 3 o'clock on this first day at sea, the captain announced that we had arrived at the deep channel at the northeast edge of the continental shelf. So once again all eyes were directed toward the horizon, looking for spouts. Towards the end of the afternoon, about 5:30, we encountered our third species of cetacean. This time they were bottlenose dolphins, also known as terciops. It was fun to see them occasionally make a curved leap out of the water, porpoising above the surface in a graceful and dramatic display of aquatic acrobatics. They too seemed to get some form of joy out of keeping company with our boat for a while and playing around the bow. Our voyage appeared to add a not unwelcome diversion to the daily lives of these free-swimming marine adventurers, too. Certainly, it was a joy for us to observe their surface flights of grace. We were now 100 miles from the nearest land, Nantucket Island, and no other boats were anywhere in sight. After supper, while it was still light, around 8 o'clock, we had another close encounter of the cetacean kind. The weather was still rough and the wind colder, but a large pod of pilot whales appeared off the starboard bow, and they put on a marvelous show for us for nearly an hour. These almost all black animals, with rounded foreheads and large distinctive dorsal fins, grow to be 18 or 20 feet in length. In this pod, cavorting alongside our boat, there were a number of smaller young whales. These pilot whales are the kind that sometimes strand themselves on Cape Cod beaches. No one knows just why they do this, but they obviously have a close-knit social structure, and if one whale goes astray, the others appear to follow and refuse to abandon any group member in distress. We were engrossed, just leaning over the rails, watching them surface in quick succession, and trying to figure out which wave they would emerge from next. A couple of them gave us a very spectacular performance, just a few yards from the side of our boat. The show appears even more spectacular in slow motion. This evening encounter with a sea full of pilot whales ended the first day of our trip on a note of exhilaration, even though we hadn't yet found sperm whales. We were ready for a night of wave-rocked sleep. Saturday morning was a beautiful day, although again the seas were heavy and the waves rough. We spent all morning continuing our quest, keeping close to the edge of the deep ocean canyons. I hadn't given up hope of seeing sperm whales, and I occupied some of my time rereading the cetology section of Melville's Moby Dick. The captain's cabin was full of searching eyes, and just about noon of the second day, as I was looking out on the port side, I got a call from naturalist Scott Krause.
Sperm whales out there.
Oh, boy.
So we rushed up to the starboard bow, and sure enough, there in the distance were a number of small, distinctive spouts. And thus it was that on the 6th of July, 1991, after all these years, my lifelong quest to actually see sperm whales alive at sea was being fulfilled. Sperm whales are readily recognizable by their unusual spout. It shoots out forward in a low, diagonal direction from the single blowhole on the top left side of their head. It was exciting to see these clouds of white spray suddenly emerge from the dark horizontal forms on the surface of the rough water in the distance. After this group of 4 or 5 sperm whales had replenished their lungs in a series of blows, they all dove out of sight for a half hour or more, presumably searching for squid in the depths below. The boat waited around in this same area for 30 or 40 minutes until the whales returned again to the surface, not too far from where they had gone down. Though they didn't appear quite as large and awe-inspiring as I had imagined, it was impressive to see before us this trio of sperm whales, keeping pace with each other as they alternately raised their brows to blow and then floated semi-submerged like logs, with only the triangular hump of their dorsal fin showing above the surface and occasionally the sideways tip of a tail. The naturalists observed that these were probably young and immature sperm whales, perhaps a bachelor pod. Their length was estimated to be about 35 feet, and though probably males, they certainly were not 60-foot giants like Moby Dick. Such males are rarely found these days. Looking down at the long, shiny forepart of the whale's body, smooth and glistening with the water washing over it, we felt privileged to be sharing close space with this marvelous fellow inhabitant of our water planet. Surely the sperm whale is one of God's great wonders of creation. When these whales dived once again, we noticed some others in the distance, and while we were looking toward the horizon, we experienced the ultimate reward of seeing a sperm whale breach, not just once, but twice. Showing this in slow motion, we can imagine the tremendous power of the whale's horizontal tail thrashing back and forth underwater as it heads up to the surface to hurl 30 or 40 tons of body weight vertically into the air until it is almost entirely clear of the surface, and then falling back with a tremendous splash. Even though distant, this sight was an exciting thrill. It reminded us of the sperm whale breachings celebrated by Melville in Moby Dick. After more than an hour of sperm whale watching, we headed off in another direction, when suddenly our ship was visited serendipitously by a small group of exceedingly rare and almost never seen beaked whales. We were alerted to 4 or 5 of them swimming toward the boat, surfacing with beaks pointed skyward in a highly unusual manner.
Shoot the head, shoot the head. You want to get the head. Shoot it. Another one coming up right here, folks. There you go.
As we tried to count them, they made a second pass by the boat from the other side. North Atlantic beaked whales are believed to grow to about 16 feet in length. There are more than a dozen different species of beaked whales known to exist, identified almost exclusively from a very small number of stranded carcasses and skeletons. It was difficult, therefore, from such fleeting glimpses as these, to ascertain the particular species of beaked whale which we were privileged to observe. But it turned out that these video scenes are the very first moving pictures ever taken by anyone of this particular species of beaked whale in the North Atlantic. Our encounter with these whales lasted only a couple of minutes, and then they disappeared. But they gave us an unforgettable experience. To give viewers a second chance to observe these exceptional creatures, here now is a repeat of the entire sequence of beaked whales videotaped live at sea on July 6, 1991.
Shoot the head, shoot the head. You want to get the head. Shoot it. Another one coming up right here, folks. There you go.
After they were gone, Scott Krause contrasted our luck with that of an earlier 2-week scientific expedition looking for beaked whales in this same place, which had not seen a single one.
For 2 weeks looking for beaked whales, and they didn't see a water. I can't wait to call him. Oh, by the way.
To give a better image of the manner in which these beaked whales surfaced near our boat, we have reproduced here a portion of this sequence in slow motion. There had been 2 previous sightings of beaked whales in this same area reported by seafarers' expeditions in 1987 and 1988, but no movies or videos had been taken then. Copies of this tape have been sent to the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C., and to other museums and scientists for their records. After viewing these pictures, Dr. James Mead the leading beaked whale scientist at the Smithsonian, has tentatively identified the species filmed as Sowerby's beaked whale. It took us some time to recover from this mind-blowing experience, but when we did later that afternoon, naturalist Scott Krause got out his hydrophone. Scott Marion lowered it into the water to see if we could hear the underwater clicks made by sperm whales, and thus locate another group of them. We gathered around on the foredeck to hear Scott Krause explain how the machine worked and what the noises being heard meant. At first we seemed just to hear the squeaks and squeals of dolphins and pilot whales, but then Scott picked up the sound of sperm whales.
Some type of dolphin, pilot whale.
Oh! Sperm whale, I think. That rapid ratchet noise? I think that's sperm whale. Didn't Watkins write about ratchets? Yeah, well, I think we got one.
As we listened, we could imagine in our mind's eye a mother and calf swimming together below the surface, as shown in these underwater pictures taken in the Bahamas by West Hartford scuba diver and photographer Pachi Pastor. Their powerful horizontal tails enable them to propel their bodies downward with consummate ease and grace.
They do seem to sync up.
Sperm whales apparently send out these clicks as a means of echolocation. It became clear that we had heard sperm whale sounds because in a short time several more slightly larger whales surfaced not too far from our boat. We were able once more to observe the log-like back and the forward-shooting spout. The sperm whale got its name from the special kind of oil found in the giant case in its massive head. Early whalers mistook this substance for semen and called it spermaceti, or the sperm of the whale. Actually, it has nothing to do with the whale's biological reproductive system. Scientists are not sure just what its function is. It may serve as a flotation element or as a sound chamber for echolocation. Our final view of the great sperm whale came when this one dramatically raised his triangular flukes to the sky to commence a deep dive.
Yeah, here we go. Tail.
Oh boy.
At the end of this second day, we gathered on the upper deck to review the success of the voyage and to celebrate with satisfaction the fulfillment of our quest. After one more night at sea, the Yankee Freedom on Sunday morning headed back for Cape Cod, Cape Ann, and Gloucester Harbor. It was a happy day up on the bow. The cameraman from Connecticut had finally seen and filmed Connecticut's state animal.
All right. Seeing the sperm whale now. That makes it official.
Everyone say MIT.
How about waving, everybody?
One final cetacean benediction awaited us on our way home. Near Stellwagen Bank, we sighted a mother humpback whale and her young calf. As we watched enthralled this parallel pair, they lifted up their tails together in a final farewell dive. Whales alive forever.
This windy old weather